Welcome students. We are moving to the next session, that is a distributed file system. In this topic we are going to discuss about the introduction part of the distributed file system. The next session after this will be the client server architecture, where we are dealing with the NFS structure, right? Now let us move in depth into the distributed file system introduction part. Here we are going to discuss about the file system. First of all, what is a file system? Why we are moving to the distributed file system section. Then we will be knowing distributed file system services, characteristics and the goals. So all this comes under the basic introduction part of your distributed file system, along with few operations of the files which we are going to perform on, and then we will be moving to the network file system. So depending on this network file system, the architecture will be designed as a client server architecture, and also we will be knowing about the cluster based also in the upcoming session. Now, distributed file system. See here, the distributed file system, before knowing about that, we will be knowing about what is a file system first of all. See, file system in every operating system will be the major part of the system. So where we are going to organize all the files which we are going to save, we are going to create, we are going to retrieve. So all the operations which we are going to perform on a particular file will be dealing with the file system. Now next one is a distributed file system. See, in the distributed file system, we are going to see, along with the above things, we are going to see the resource management also, because we are going to work on distributedly in the network, right? So there we have to know how to manage with the n number of resources also at that moment to do n number of operations. Now at the same time, in the distributed environment, it is very hard to maintain where your file is located, how to retrieve that and all these things. So distributed file system will be giving all those functionalities to us, right? Next one is a users who are creating that particular file, who are utilizing that particular file, will be called as the users of that particular file. Now storage devices, where we are storing exactly the data. So this will be like physically dispersed throughout the network, right? Next one is the common file system, which we are going to maintain to multiple systems. See, all the systems have access to all the files in the network because these are autonomously shared, right? Next, there are two main purposes why we are moving files, why we are utilizing files as a first thing. See, first, whatever the information we are writing, we are retrieving, we are sending, must be stored at one particular place, right? So that one particular place is called as a permanent storage. So for this purpose, we are going to have a file structure. Next, sharing of the information will be done between n number of applications, because as a file system user, I want so and so file to be retrieved. So at that moment, that file must be saved at one position, right? So first one is saving, second one is a sharing. Next, the file system is a subset of your operating system functions. See, as we all know, operating system has n number of functions like resource management, file system, memory management, all this kind. So one of the main subsystem is a file system. And here in the file system, every programmer or every user will be unknowingly utilizing all the files, and they are unworried about which type of data we are calling for, but we are concerned about at what locations we have saved and what is the file I am accessing, right? Next one is in addition to above the functionalities whatever we have seen, remote information sharing is very, very important in the distributed file system environment, where we are unworried about where the location of the file is there, but we need to access the file. That is our major agenda. Now, user mobility, all the users can have access to all the files, different nodes, systems can utilize any file in the network. Next, availability purpose also. See, all the files which are available should be given to the users at any prompt of time, and if there are any failures, we can say our system should be fault tolerant. See, when we say fault tolerance, our system is always ready to handle any failures which are happening in the network without giving any disturbances to the end users. And coming to the services, there are three major services of the DFS, distributed file system. First one is the storage, second one is true file service, and last one is the name directory. Coming to the storage service, the allocation, memory management and everything comes under the storage services. And the true file systems comes under the where the file is exactly located, what is the file created for, what is the meaning of the file, for what purpose we have designed that one, who created that, all the semantics and metadata, all this comes under the true file system. And the next one is name and directory services. Like what are the names, at the time of the creation we have to give some few names of a particular file. Along with that, the path where we are storing that, because a number of systems are going to retrieve the data of that file. So to retrieve the data of the file, we should be knowing at which location it is available, at least path we should know, right? So to call that particular file, so all those folder structures and all will be maintained by the last service, that is a name directory service. Next are the characteristics. So coming to the characteristics, there are 10 characteristics of distributed file system. First one is the transparency. In the transparency also we have three types: structure, access and the naming. See, structure transparency is nothing but the number of locations your file is, your file server is available, and to know the path, everything where that is that a hierarchical structure or else whatever it is. So all the file system processing will be done in the structure transparency. Access transparency is locally or remotely our file should be accessible to all the users in the network. Naming transparency, the name of the file should be given with a few hints, like we should have the name of the file in a proper semantical way, in what purpose we have created that file. The path, the name of the file should also reflect the same thing. Next, replication transparency. See, coming to the replication transparency, this is nothing but the copy of your existing file. So whenever any failures occurs or multiple nodes are taking your data, we should have multiple files of your, multiple replicas of your file. So for that purpose, we should have replication transparency. The second characteristics is the user mobility. See, coming to the user mobility, this is nothing but your files or else your users, who are the users who are taking the data, must visit the home directory always, or else the path whatever we are having. So users can move from one network to the other network, but we should have that data should be uniquely given to all the users. Next, performance wise, we can judge the performance with the speed, or else we can go with the time, everything, right? So here the performance is measured with the average amount of time needed to satisfy a particular user requirement, right? So here we may include CPU time, or less time for accessing the secondary storage, and also the network access time, within how many seconds we have given the request and response. Everything comes into the consideration in the performance. Next is simplicity and ease of use. Any user interface should be always available to the file system to access the commands whatever the users are asking and give the response immediately. So thus the user interface will be playing an important role here. Next, scalability. As the number of nodes keep on increasing, we should accept the number of nodes. Highly available. See, all the files which are maintained on the distributed environment should be available to all the users without any partial things, and if any failures occurs also, immediately the fault tolerance must be strong over there. Highly reliable and scalable. Distributed file system should be independent of your file servers. So this is nothing but if any file system fails also, immediately we should have the replica of that file. So thus the availability should be very strong over there. Next one is the reliability. Obviously, if the data, the probability of chance of getting the data, whenever the user is asking within a fraction of minutes or seconds, so you are getting the data, means that is nothing but high reliable. At the same time, if any failures occurs also, with the backup, without knowing to the user that something has happened, the user will be getting the service immediately, right? Data integrity is nothing but concurrent access of the data. See, if a file is created at my end and if any other person is writing something to that file, this concurrency accessing integrity content. So whatever the integrity means, whatever I am writing and you are writing, everything should be it should be very uniquely given to that particular file. Security in terms of permissions, who can read, who can write, who can execute kind of things. Next, heterogeneity, there should be accessings and to be shared between diverse platforms. So heterogeneity is nothing but you can save the files at any moment to any platforms. So all these are under the characteristics of your distributed file system. Till here, yeah, coming to the goals as the next slide. Here we have two types of goals, network transparency and highly availability. This is nothing but your network should be transparently available to all the users. That may be anything, availability, concept, replication, whatever it is. Availability should be very strong, thus our system will be reliable. So these two are main important goals of our system. And coming to the file operations, this we are going to discuss in the next session. For what purpose we are doing n number of operations, creations, removals, renames, all the file operations. And coming to the network file system, this is a basic structure where we are going to introduce network. Okay, as we are in the distributed file system, we should have network file system as a backend part which is developed by the Sun Microsystems. Its architecture we are going to see in the next session. Till here, if you have any doubts, please be free to contact any time in the college. Thank you.